Hi, this is Billy Earl, and this is Lore of the Shore. We're going to talk today to a guy who makes perhaps my favorite food in the world, and that's New Orleans style food. He does this at Flannery's down at Allen and Camden. We're going to talk to him about the kind of food that he makes and why he makes it. But to start off, this is a local boy, and he's had a journey through the world of culinary adventures that I think you'll find entertaining. So Stu, welcome.
Well, thank you very much.
Stu Davis, you grew up here. There probably wasn't a lot of Cajun or Creole cuisine on the menus around here.
Correct.
Yeah.
There was veal parmesan and spaghetti.
Both?
Wow,
yeah.
On spaghetti.
What else would you need?
I remember like Don's Belladonna or the Saddle Club, those kind of places when I was younger. And those always stuck with me.
Was there a place here called something the Rooster? It was a club out there on Route 50, out there by what used to be that old McDonald's.
What was that called? Yeah, there was something out there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it was called, though.
35 years ago, Paul Reed Smith used to play guitar out there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that goes back. Johnny's?
There was a Johnny's.
Okay, maybe that's it.
There was a Johnny's.
Anyway, so you're growing up here in beautiful downtown Salisbury.
Mm-hmm.
And you're probably talking to your school counselor. They give you those little meetings to tell you what you should do with your life.
Yeah.
And so you tell her that you're going to make Cajun food and serve it here in Salisbury.
I did. The choice was either a priest or a chef, and I got a girlfriend, so priest was out. Chef was in.
That was the only two choices?
That's the choices I decided.
Priest or okay. So you're growing up, and I assume that your interest in food started early.
It did start real early. The interesting thing was I was around food. My parents always made food. We were never wealthy or anything, so they always scratched together, things that we could make. I mean, big pots of soup. Stuff that's good, we have a big family, so we made stuff that was a lot at any given time. The other thing which was nice is I lived on Colburn Drive in that area, mm-hmm. and that was all produce. All those houses and stuff weren't there. So it was Hearn Farm, everything around Robbins Avenue, all back by the Holly Center, apple trees, peach trees, strawberries, zucchini, squash. And so my entrepreneurship,
That's easy
or
for you
whatever
to say.
it's called, I would pick vegetables while I did newspapers and go deliver vegetables at the same time. And way back when, if you can remember, which you probably can, my first job was actually a TV guide delivery boy.
Okay. Okay.
That's way back when.
That was way back then. I know a lot of people learn to cook kind of at their mother's apron. Mm-hmm. Was that your situation?
Well, my mom cooked a lot, but my grandmother was she was German, and I'm German and Irish, so don't get me mad.
You're Irish.
I'm Irish. Every time we went to her house, which was often, she lived in Baltimore, and she always put on a big spread.
Okay.
Now, I got a chance to cook with her. She also had a restaurant in Preston years back. It was a diner. You know how they had like Woolworths has the seats. They had that when they were up in Preston, and my mom, she would go to the grocery store. She would come back home. She wouldn't have any eggs and milk, and I made like my favorite cake, or I would make something that I liked, and if I didn't like it, it was just we ate it anyway.
Right. Couldn't throw it away.
No. And my dad was pretty good with soups and stuff like that. Soups and stews.
Okay.
We did. We had grapevines in the back, so we did grape jelly and preserves, things like that, which was really nice. I mean, nowadays you don't see a whole bunch of grape jellies or preserves or the basements where you put the jars to let them sit. And, pick them out whenever you want. Pickled beets, pickled vegetables, that kind of stuff.
Boy, I love that kind of stuff, though.
Oh my gosh, it's so amazing. And if you find it, I mean, when I go out to the farmers markets and things, if I can find some stuff like that, I definitely hook it up.
We get our stuff like that from Linda's son in Tennessee.
That's awesome.
Elderberry jam.
Oh yeah. Apple
To
butter.
die for. Apple butter. Real apple butter.
Real apple butter.
Not the they sell in the store. So you're growing up. You're thinking about being a chef already?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was pretty much on a path once I decided I was going to do it. Out in the north side, where across from Lowe's is a hotel, and that used to be the Holiday Inn, and that was the premier hotel in the area.
Right.
So I started off working with Charles Chip. They had a place downtown next to Watson Smokehouse.
I've eaten many a Charles Chip.
And he was the delivery driver, so made pizzas and subs there. That was when I was maybe 12, 13-ish.
Yeah.
Then I went with Chuck Marshall, who owned the Holiday Inn, and Mike Marshall, who owns Marshall Management. They brought me in there. I started washing dishes and moved my way up. And,
right.
And I had a friend named Jerry Elliott, who is also still around the shore area, does catering, and he was one of the chefs there. So we worked in there. It was a really good place. I learned omelets. We fed all the professional wrestlers you could ever think of.
Really?
It was the premier. We had 2 different dining rooms.
Okay.
It was really the premier restaurant hotel in this area. Probably the only one besides something like Temple Hill that was a little motel kind of thing. But it was really, really. That's really where I got my fun start.
Okay.
I went to. Of course, everybody goes to Ocean City eventually. I work with Mark Mayers, who's a master chef, one of the few in the area that worked with the Harrison Group. And I worked at Reflections, which was on 60-something Street down there. Mark's still around. He does ice sculptures and still is involved with the Harrison Group. And from there, I went worked with the guy named Glenn Eastman, who I grew up with, who also went to the Culinary Institute of America. And I worked with him. He showed me the first 2, 3, 4 months of the program in the Culinary Institute. And by the time I got accepted, off I went to New York.
Okay. What was that like?
Well, of course, it was scary because it's your first time out, and I played a lot, so I had to really calm myself down a bit. But the Culinary School is a 22-month program, or it was a 22-month program. It still is, but it can be varied. And you went into different kitchens in different areas. So it wasn't just about cooking. It was about inventory. It was about storage. It was about wines. It was about nutrition. It was, there's so many different variants you could do. They had private restaurants that people that would come in from the outside would come in and they would dine. I mean, some of them are high class, like 10 glasses, 15 forks, kind of thing.
Right.
And then there was other ones that was called the American Bounty that was excellent, and it was home style type food. And then you had something that was called the diner, and it was a diner, but it was run by Culinary, and it was just fabulous. Living on the Hudson, right near the Amtrak, so you can go into the city, you can explore and have fun and figure out what you want to do. You come back. We lived near Poughkeepsie, which was a happening kind of town, and there's Marist College up there, and there's a lot of colleges. So I mean, it was always hustle and bustle up there. But I tell you what, that experience made me decide which direction I wanted to go in, because you can go into thousands of different directions.
I was going to say there's a lot of options.
Absolutely.
So when you thought about narrowing it down, how would you define that narrowing?
Well, what did I feel comfortable doing?
Yeah.
And what I felt comfortable doing was like banquet and catering. That's really what I like doing.
Okay.
Fine dining is really nice, except for I'm like when I paint the wall like this, not I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not an artist like that. I'm an artist in different ways. So I like to make things like this, And I did a lot of catering up there. I worked with a catering company up there, and then when I graduated, is when I went to New Orleans, and I had a friend, the same friend that worked at the Reflections restaurant, which is Glenn Eastman, asked me to come down and work at the Hyatt Regency in New Orleans.
Cool gig.
Yeah, so I went down to New Orleans, and I can't explain the area well enough to make everybody understand, because there was so many different kinds of eclectic people. You had the French, you had the Louisianans, you had the Coons, you had the country people, you had the swamp people, it was totally different, and none of that is. I don't know. It's not bad to call them down there the swamp people, because that's what they are.
That's what they call themselves.
The bayou folks. That's what they.
Coon asses.
Yeah, well, and that's natural.
Yeah.
I'd leave out of the city and I'd go into the country, into the swamp, and we'd cook. Everybody would play music. We'd cook in big cast iron pots. They'd bring stuff. We'd cook frog legs, squirrel, everything right from the swamp. Have a good time. Crawfish. Crawfish is in season now. I wish I could get some here.
Love some bugs.
Oh my gosh. Crawfish, and then we just sat down and we entertained each other just by playing a harmonica, telling a joke.
Yeah.
You didn't have any TV, you didn't have any of that kind of stuff, and you just sat there and you enjoyed yourself. Mom washed clothes, or the girls washed clothes, the boys hunted, and then we come all together at dinner time, and there you go. Then you had a family, and then, and leaving the city and going into that is 100% change. It's just as fascinating how that culture changes, and then I leave the country, and go into the city and work with some of those folks who all of a sudden were in a high class hotel and we're doing like top notch, elegant food again. And the food down there, you want to take your bread and wipe your face with it, and then you eat your bread, kind of thing. You don't want to let any of it go. You don't want to let any of it go.
You're down there. You're getting this great education. Now you're thinking about your direction.
Right.
What does that look like?
Well, it helps when you get promoted from within.
Yeah.
So eventually I became the banquet chef at the Hyatt Regency. So I started working there. When I started working there, I moved my way up to the banquet chef, and we fed anywhere from 20 to 6,000 people at one time, and it could have been in 10, 12, 14 different ballrooms. So and some of those menus, which was really a pain, is some of those menus would be 4 or 5 different menus. So generally when you have that many people, you try to keep everybody on the same menu so you can work it out. But it's a lot of timing, a lot of pressure on making sure that things are going the way they're supposed to go. And so I learned doing my banquet work there that that's really a forte that I could strive to improve on. So I did that, and I did that for 3.5 years. And then New Orleans is real fun. It's very, very active. You don't get much sleep.
Right.
It's a place where people come and visit you, and then they leave. Like families, like, oh, great, he's in a super spot. So they come, and then they go, and then they come and they go. So you got a lot of action coming in and out, and everybody's friends. But I was getting restless. So I had a 3-year itch. So I started, putting out resumes and seeing what's available and things like that. So then I went with Walt Disney World, which was really, really good. All the things that they say about Disney is probably true. It's amazing. It's a company that has a fantastic management. The tunnels underneath, I got to be a animal. I got to be what was I? I was a Brer Fox.
Okay.
I was Brer Fox at one point. I worked in Canada Pavilion in Epcot. I worked in the UK Pavilion at Epcot, and I worked in the United States Pavilion at Epcot.
How cool is that?
And it was really cool. But again, you had a lot of visitors, so you got free passes and stuff. But, going down inside of the tunnels and seeing all the things that Walt Disney does that you don't see.
You don't see.
Oh, my gosh. It's crazy. I mean, even the wardrobe place. I mean, it's bigger than the Civic Center, and people come up to these windows and get my wardrobe every day. It's clean, it's pressed, it's ready to go, and it is just amazing how all these things clicked and just worked together. I also had a chance to meet a lot of people from outside the area. Again, I was in the UK, where I got a lot of experience in cooking, English cooking. The United States, of course, is United States food, and Canada. I mean, things like the poutine that I do.
Yeah,
it's
poutine.
it's just different kind of food, but good quality food.
Yeah.
So, and I learned a lot of different types of items, Scottish eggs in the UK, and just different things that I didn't have a handle on before. And then I got a chance to do that, and I was there for a while, and again I got that itch, and off to the Virgin Islands, St. Thomas, I went.
Jerk chicken?
Jerk chicken. I had an opportunity in St. Thomas to I worked at a hotel there. I was the banquet chef there. I worked at a hotel called Frenchman's Reef. It was a great place to work and a great place to live. You have to be careful, because some people aren't island people. I mean,
Right.
once you're on a rock, you're on a rock, and you just can't move around like normal. I mean, you can go 4 miles this way or 10 miles that way, and that's what
pretty
you
much
got.
it.
But if you love the water and love sailing and love snorkeling and all that kind of stuff, it's perfect. So I worked at this restaurant, or this hotel called the Frenchman's Reef, which is the premier restaurant in St. Thomas, and I was the banquet chef, so I did all the banquets there. We had hurricanes that came through, totally blew out, the whole island. It was Hurricane Hugo that I remember, and I never want to be in a hurricane again.
They're not as much fun as they seem.
Yeah, no, I was in a couple hurricanes in New Orleans, and they weren't as bad at that time. We didn't get direct hits, I guess I should say. But Hurricane Hugo, I went over St. Croix, and we were on the outside bands, or the inside bands,
Yeah.
and totally destroyed the island. The Frenchman's Reef had their own energy source, their own generators and stuff. So we were the only place that had running water and electric for probably a month and a half. I got back to my house about 3 months later when they cleared the road up, and I could get up to my house. And of course, everything was molded and mildewed. But it's just that's the risk you take when you're in one of those kind of places. When something happens, that's where you happen to be.
Right.
But I left the Frenchman's Reef after a little while and went and opened up matter of fact, a guy asked me to help him out. I was in a kitchen probably no bigger than this room here. And I said, okay, I want to take a break. I want to go snorkeling, sailing, and all this kind of stuff. So I went in, and he ended up leaving. So I was the chef in this little thing. And we had 5-6 grills outside where I would make the salad, the vegetable, the starch, and I'd give them the steak. And you go out to the grill and cook your own steak, cook your own hamburger, cook your own fish, because you know how you like it.
Yeah.
I give you seasonings and all kinds of stuff. You go out there and cook it, and I'll just give you the plate. You put it on the plate, and then you have it. And the whole place was no bigger than a tractor trailer.
Okay.
We did really, 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 really well. And they managed to create a restaurant that was at the pier. They built a whole restaurant. We had 75 seats inside, and upstairs we had 40 seats, which was a three-star dining room upstairs, and downstairs was chicken fried steak, grits, all country food, all country food. Yeah. And I was the executive chef. I was the general manager there at that time, and fabulous. And that's where I got my smoker from, because I fell in love with the smoker. If you've ever seen the smoker at Flannery's, it looks like a chuck wagon.
Yeah.
And it was just something I fell in love with there. You know, one of the nice things about St. Thomas too is every day I'd had the fish of the day. I just got on the dock, poke a fish, see how the meat is, tuna, wahoo, snapper, and I just see how the meat is, and then say I want this one, I want this one, I want this one, and the guys would give me the fish, and they'd come in and they'd have a tab for $40 worth of beer or something or drinks, and it was sort of an exchange kind of thing, and it worked out real well. I mean, I got a chance to do that every single day. I fed mega yachts. People, I got a chance to order an inventory for these mega yachts and visit these mega yachts. And we also had sailing races, which was real cool. I was feeding people on the mega yachts. They'd come in and they'd want resupplies and things. So we'd resupply them, and they'd come into Tickles and enjoy themselves. And that was really a great experience. Got to be the first mate on the sailboat when I had time off. I got a chance to travel down islands, see all the different islands. I went over to Jamaica. I got a jerk chicken recipe that is absolutely fabulous. I met this young lady or this person that had if you ever been to Jamaica or St. Thomas, there's these side road stands.
Yep.
I loved the jerk chicken. I said, I would really like the recipe. And she said, no, man, I don't give that out.
Right.
And I looked back in her sink area, and she had a whole thing full of dishes, pots and pans and stuff. And I said, how about if I take care of those dishes for you? Would you think about, giving me the recipe? And she said, nobody's ever asked me that before. So I went and did all her dishes, and then she wrote down a recipe, and she gave me a recipe. And I've been using that ever since. So Flannery's has jerk chicken, and that's a Caribbean-style jerk chicken. Plus I do all different kinds, like I said, the Cajun food, the Creole food, the Irish food, Southern food. I mean, it's just something that's inside of me that just comes out, and I want to, all of a sudden I'll see something that's on sale, local produce, something like that, and I'll just absorb that and say, this is what I want to do.
The diversity of your menu is impressive.
Well, you say Flannery's, Bayou, and barbecue, and then you go, but you have Irish, and you have, and then what does Flannery's have to do with barbecue, and all that kind of stuff? Well, Flannery's is my pop-up's name.
Right.
And my pop-up was the safety director at DP&L, when it was DP&L, for years and years and years. And so I just named it after him because I thought, what a better way to carry that name on. And I still have people come in today and says, I remember your grandfather. He comes in, jingles his change, when he does meetings, and that's what every single person says that. I mean, it was way back when, but I still have people that come up today and say, I still remember him.
Do you have a personal favorite when it comes to a dish at your restaurant?
I have. I love jambalaya.
Yeah.
And I do all different kinds of jambalaya. I have alligator jambalaya, crawfish jambalaya, chicken and andouille sausage jambalaya, catfish jambalaya. So, I mean, I love to play with it because also it's a rice dish. So the rice absorbs whatever you're making. One different thing about Cajun and Creole is when Cajun came up from the South, the blackened, we'll say the blackened Emerald and Paul Prudhomme and Justin Wilson, those guys, everything was hot. Everything was cayenne pepper hot. And Cajun is not cayenne pepper hot. Cajun is a spicy food. It's not hot, and it doesn't have to be hot. It's seasoned, highly seasoned.
Yes.
So if you come into, let's say, my place and you say, I want it hot, I'll make it hot. If you want Cajun, but you don't want it spicy, then I just put a little bit of my spice on it.
Yeah.
Now when somebody comes in and says they want Texas chili, is it hot? And I say, yes, Texas chili is hot. That's why it's named Texas chili. So I can't do much with that. But then you have Creole, which is totally different than Cajun. Creole is a tomato, herby kind of flavor.
Okay.
And it's saucy. That sounds pretty cool. Saucy?
Yeah, saucy. Very English.
Very English. But that's what it is. It's more herby. It's more saucy. It's more flavorful as far as boldness.
Okay.
And usually you can have some rice with it, but you only put it like over white rice. Like a lot of Creoles is over white rice because you don't want to take the flavor from the boldness of the Creole sauce to the over the white rice and have it double seasoned. You see, and it's stewy. That's good too. Saucy and stewy.
As are you. Stewy.
Stewy. So, I mean, it's totally different. And none of it has to be hot. But people are scared. People are afraid that everything's hot. And you know what? Some of the places you go that it's blackened, it might be because they buy a seasoning that has a lot of cayenne pepper in it.
Right.
I don't buy a seasoning. I make my seasoning.
You make your own.
All of my seasonings I make.
Yeah.
And I have a tendency of being able to accompany anything that if you have something spicy, I give you some homemade coleslaw or something that I make, a cold cucumber tomato salad. You know, something that takes away some of the spice. That kind of thing is pretty good. But you have to be able to pair those. Now here's where my artistic ability comes in. You have to become able to come and pair the things on your plates. You know, there's some people that put microgreens and things on their plate.
Right.
I'm a meat kind of person. So you get your entree. I don't have any microgreens. You get your entree, it's meat. You know, you pay for the meat. I'm not going to give you fluff. And that's the kind of thing that I like. I mean, when you're down south, that's what you get. You get meat. If you get a roast beef po' boy, it's the same thing. It's a sub that's this big, and it's got gravy going all over your fingers and stuff. And it's the kind that you take your bread and you dip all in your bread. You don't want to leave any of that good stuff behind. So then you inhale that, and it's off to the next thing. Same thing like muffaladas. I do muffaladas, and that sells extremely well, and people love that, the giant sandwich like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, in that again, you have pickled vegetables. That's the olive base. You start with an olive blend, and you have olive tempanade is what it's called, and then you add pickled vegetables to it, like pickled carrots, pickled cauliflower, pepperoncinis, different kinds of flavors. Where, you know, I don't personally, I don't like olives, but I can tear up a muffalata.
Boy, I love them. Stu, I really want to thank you for coming by today. This has been a gastro journey of my favorite sort.
Oh man, I tell you, anytime that you can try something different, not just the old plain country stuff, but anything different, I'm going to try it.
I'm a different guy, as are you.
That's the way I do it.
Okay, this has been Stu Davis from Flannerys. Thank you for tuning in. Namaste.